We're in such disarray this morning.
Jill, there you are, you're on. Good morning. It's starter for 10, or today it's starter for 10:08. All right, apologies for being late, but it is so fantastic to have you with us this morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day. The sun is out. The daffodils are out, but are beginning to die. Okay, but it's a beautiful day, and I'm joined here by beautiful people next to me. Steve, welcome.
Good morning.
All right. And Jill's our online host today. Jill, what do you want to say to our guys watching at home?
Speak to me, please. Speak to me. Come onto the YouTube channel, Bookham Baptist Church, and chat to me.
Yeah, and we specifically want to chat about something, don't we, Steve? What is it today?
Okay, so today we're thinking about winging it. Have you ever winged it? So, Phil, you were telling me about a time when you had to wing it, and I'd like to start with you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Steve. So, thinking about when have I winged it, part of me wants to say, I think I wing it every single day. I was a teacher, and if there's teachers out there watching, maybe you can relate to this, that you kind of feel like every day there's a part of you that's winging it. But the story I want to say is that back in, 1989, I just finished university and I went to America on Camp America, and I got a job as nature director, and I was on this camp in Connecticut. And I thought, that's going to be fine. It's a bit of biology, a bit of ecology. I was used to that. And when I arrived on my first day, they took me into this sort of big field and barn and introduced me to the goat, the sheep, and the cow that I was meant to be looking after for 8 weeks. And that was like my responsibility. And obviously I'd seen goats, sheep and cows before, but never up close. Didn't really how do you look after a goat? So I lacked the emotional maturity to go, actually, I think you've got the wrong guy. I've no idea what I'm doing. And I winged it. And I just thought, hey, they all eat grass. What can possibly go wrong? And it actually all turned out okay in the end, and actually the goat and I became really good friends.
Do you keep in touch still?
No. It's probably in a curry somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. When I asked Sarah, my wife, this morning, whether she'd ever winged it, she'd said, where do I begin, was her response. And she's also a teacher, which is kind of picked up. Yeah. Jill, what about you? Do you have some winging stories?
Well, mine comes from a previous profession, actually, and this is, I suppose it wasn't till later that I realised how dangerous it was. So I was in charge of the labour ward. I was a midwife at the time, and quite a quiet evening, when suddenly there was the roaring man who came running into the labour ward, screaming, "It's coming!" I was like,
the end of the world?
I just assumed it was a baby, so I grabbed a pair of gloves and followed him run back out to the car parks, visiting time, so quite a lot of people, quite a lot of footfall, and his wife with her shoulders on the passenger seat and her feet out of the car. And it was really too late to get a wheelchair and get her into the hospital. So I delivered her baby in front of all the visitors coming in and out of the hospital. And I was glad that the equipment I did have was a pair of gloves, but I didn't have anything else that we would normally have, or any staff, or any cleanliness, or any, and all was well. Yeah. But it felt like I was out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
They called the baby tarmac.
They didn't.
That's terrible. My own story of winging it, well, there are loads, actually, to be honest. But one that goes back a few years, where I was at a conference of mainly Rwandans. It was some years after the genocide, but there were Rwandans who were in exile in Europe and the UK, who came together to talk peace. So it was serious stuff. And I was part of this because it was in the town that I lived in. Part way through, the chairperson became ill and had to leave. And I found myself in the chair, and not feeling like I was, that person who's really, got his finger on the pulse of political stuff and everything. And as the conference was moving to some quite kind of gritty stuff, trying to bring some resolution, and there am I and I definitely felt that I'm winging, that I'm winging this. But I tell you, one interesting thing is that in those situations when we are, if you like, doing stuff that we maybe not feel prepared for, not feel that we've got the skills to bring or the experience, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah.
Now, there's never any good excuse to just not prepare. That's irresponsible, or to just put yourself in a situation which you obviously are not up to. But when we find ourselves, by circumstance, in a situation that's demanding of us more than we think we've got to bring, something quite incredible can happen. Yeah. And to just shift this into the realm of faith, I think that's where we can discover God's power at work and God's enabling beyond our resources and beyond our abilities. And we're going to be thinking a bit more about that.
Nice. So hopefully that has whetted your imagination, and so we really want you sending in your stories about winging it. We know there's a lot of stories out there, so do send in your messages on the live chat to Jill. But now we are going to take a slot where we enjoy a song together. We hope you'll be able to listen to the words that will be meaningful to you. So let's have a listen to that song right now.
Do you want me to announce it?
Go for it.
Fall Afresh.
Fall Afresh. Right. Well, that was beautifully sung, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome back, and you'll remember that we'd started talking about winging it. Jill, has there been any responses from our online audience?
Well, the early flurry of responses came from people that are actually in the building on the team. Pete saying it's winging it every week when he's setting up the media for a live stream. A couple of guys in the band who haven't had a lot of time to rehearse, they're feeling like they're winging it, Dan and Izzy. And then a little bit further back in time, Gemma, who's a teacher, just remembering the first day of lockdown when suddenly everything had to be virtual. And she really felt like, okay, used to teaching this subject, but not in this way. And it's really felt out of her comfort zone. And Barbara also saying she feels a bit like you feel that it's sort of daily life, part of daily life to be winging it. But she says she thinks it's a daily journey of faith because it's about stepping into what God's got for us and not depending on ourselves, but needing to depend on Him.
Yeah.
To which
Nice.
I've responded, a lifetime task.
Yeah,
Lifetime
absolutely.
task.
Great. Well, do keep them coming, guys. But we're now going to move to our segment called The High Five, where we give Steve, who's preaching later on this morning, we're going to give him 5 minutes to give us a little synopsis, a little summary of what you're going to be talking about today, Steve.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about confidence, or maybe living confidently in the world. And that's not just about giving a confident posture. It's not even about winging it, although it's when we're winging, when we're in that unfamiliar situation, often that we can learn, we can find confidence and what we need. But it's about what is the secret of living confidently in a world that's full of perhaps dangers and concerns and uncertainties. How do we live with confidence? There are 1 or 2 pictures in the given readings for this week of confidence. One of them is David up against Goliath, who's quite a famous Old Testament story, where David, hearing the insults coming against the people of Israel from Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, he's incensed by that and says, how dare he insult the armies of the living God? And he goes up against the Goliath and defeats him. It was quite interesting that King Saul, who's as afraid as his people at the threats of this Goliath fellow, says, what makes you think you can do this? And David remembers how he was, as a shepherd, up against a bear, rescuing sheep, up against a lion, and he puts it this way. He says that God delivered me. God's power was shown from the paw of the bear, from the paw of the lion, and this Philistine will be no different. But what struck me was that David's confidence to go against Goliath was because he had experienced the power of God in those other situations. And it seems to me that one of the answers that we'll be laying hold of today is that confidence comes when we have that experience of God working actively in our lives.
I love that.
Shall I pull in there?
Yeah. No, that's such a great summary of that essence of you're winging it in a way, but you are relying on the experience that you've had of God working in your life. It's not relying on your skills, abilities, etc., although you can hone them, but allowing God room to move in your life.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Jill, anything else online?
And nothing new, I don't think.
Okay.
Just that idea.
All right.
For me, that idea of your confidence is where you're placing your confidence. Because a lot of the time when we're winging it, we're going for what we've got. But actually, what you're really talking about is being able to wing it because we can depend on a super resourceful God.
Yeah.
Amen.
Completely different thing.
Amen.
Actually, there's a reference in the Old Testament to rising on wings like eagles.
Yeah.
So maybe it's about how we learn to go from winging to rising on wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eagle.
Now, I don't know whether you can make it out on the microphones or you can see behind me, but we have got a church filling up with people. Our local community worshiping here this morning. And we want to extend an invite to you to come and be part of these guys down here. We're starting the service in 5 minutes or so. You are so welcome to come down every Sunday, 10:30. We would love to see you in the building. But for now, we just want to bless you. Hope you have a fantastic Sunday, and we hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.